Okay. So last week we started, I think, we spoke about patience, right? Was patience? I don't know if we finished it or not. Let me see.
I don't know, was it? I don't remember last week. It came and went.
Yeah, we spoke about patience. Okay, today we'll start something, and we won't be able to cover the whole topic, but it's a very important topic. It's called simcha. What is simcha in Hebrew, in English? What's simcha? Happiness. Right. So he speaks about the importance of happiness, and then how you acquire happiness, and a few little tips. So we'll just touch a few points that he talks about before we start the class. Yes. So he says like this: "Ma tov u'ma na'im she'yismach Israel be'osav simcha shel mitzvah." He wants you that you should be happy when you do the mitzvot. If you do a mitzvah, you should be happy when you do the mitzvah. You keep Shabbat. He'll go through a few different things specifically, but I'm going to explain he'll explain later how to kind of acquire this, that you'll feel happy, because happiness really has to come from within. על כל מצווה ומצווה שעושה, יגיל וישמח יותר ויותר ממוצא שלל רב. You should be happy on every mitzvah you do, more than even finding winning the lottery, or having the best deal that day. You should be excited doing the mitzvah more than anything else. Especially, בפרט בשבתות ומועדים, especially on Shabbat or on holidays, there we have a mitzvah to be happy and to enjoy the day. ושמחת בחגיך, that's in Sukkot we have it. Another thing that most people don't really connect to happiness is prayer, tefillah. Most people connect to tefillah as like a kind of I don't know if it's like an obligation or as something that they have to check the box that they prayed in the morning and they prayed in the afternoon, so they showed up to synagogue. But בשעת עבודת התפילה צריך לשמוח שמחה רבה. You have to be very excited. Imagine you have a meeting with let's say the president. You have a meeting with your boss, and he likes you, and you're asking for a promotion, and the day came and you're able to meet with them. So tefillah should be even more than that. You have an opportunity to speak to God and put in your request, and He's the one who could take care of everything. So it's something that you have to kind of work on when it comes to prayer, but prayer has to be with when you're happy to be there, and you want to be there, and you're excited about it. Like we see in Parashat Dvarim, we'll read it in a few weeks, when it says there that people that won't go in Hashem's way, He's going to punish him. They'll get punished. In the end there it says that's because you did not serve Hashem with a full heart and happiness. It's not only doing the thing you're doing it. We want you to be happy when you're doing it, because the whole goal is for us to enjoy life. So if you're doing it and it's a burden, and you're doing it and it doesn't feel good, you're not doing it right. It has to be something that makes you excited, makes you happy, makes you feel good. Same thing here in Birkat HaMazon. He brings down that the Zohar speaks out that a person has to say Birkat HaMazon with a full heart and happiness. And he brings there until a person should want to wash hand, to eat a motzi, so he has the opportunity to say Birkat HaMazon because he's so excited in saying Birkat HaMazon. Which today, most people are like, have to wash hands. They think about have to wash hands and have to bench. It's like a whole story.
It takes so long.
But really, it has to be the opposite. It has to be like, let's eat some. Let's wash hands, eat a motzi, and we have the opportunity to say Birkat Hamazon. We started the topic, short thought on being happy, simcha. Yeah.
And so are we. We're glad you're here.
Yeah. So that's he mentions there the importance of simcha, doing the mitzvah, doing things. You have to do it with a full heart, and you're supposed to be happy about it. But we all know that happiness comes from the heart, right? You can't fake being. You could maybe fake yourself into, I don't know. Maybe there's a way to, if you pretend you're happy, or you start playing music, you start dancing. There is a way to kind of lead you towards it, but really, you have to understand it and be excited about it. Anything that comes from that has to do with your heart, something has to bring out that feeling. For example, someone will tell you to be scared, but you're not scared. You can't force me to be scared. And same thing, the opposite would be, you can if someone is scared, you can't force him, get upset at him that he's scared. He's scared. What do you want him to do? It's something that he feels. It's a feeling. Same thing. You tell someone to be upset. He's not upset. So what do you want? I'm not upset. You can't force me to be upset. It's something it's internal. Same thing with happiness. He's going to the same idea. In order to be happy, you have to kind of move something inside there that will make you happy. The only way to kind of change your feeling that you'll be happy is by it needs to start from your thoughts, from your thinking, and then it comes into the heart. Like we say with avirot, when a person wants to do certain things, he sees something, he desires it, and then he starts thinking about it. Then he wants it. In order to desire something, it starts from your thought. It starts from your sight. It starts from your probably from your intellect, and then it comes to your heart. רק על פי שכלו יעולל איש שיהפוך את ליבו וינהגהו למקום אשר יהיה שם הרוח על ידי מחשבות טהורות דירות. So, in order to make yourself happy by doing whatever you're doing, you have to kind of understand what you're doing and see the good things about see the good in it, see why you want to do it, and in a way, it's not a personality, but some people are in their nature, they're not very happy. Some people, for me, I wake up in the morning. I could wake up in the morning with a smile on my face. In the evening, sometimes it goes. I wake up, I'm like a morning person. I'm up, I'm like ready to go, no problem. Like I come into my house after shacharit, I'm enjoying myself. And some people, they wake up, they're like, it's like another. They wake up, it takes them like a few cups of coffee, a few hours to kind of put a smile on their face. It's a type of. Some people have tendencies. Some people are happier in certain times, and some people are just their mood is usually down. Some people are excited more often. So that's not something. That's really something that's connected to your soul, to your neshama, that your neshama sees and excited about, and it affects your body. It's less what you're doing. It's more like who you are. He brings here, for example, there's a case in the Gemara that a person gets scared, and he doesn't know why he's scared. So what should he do? All of a sudden, you're walking, and you get scared. You don't know why, right? What do you do? No. So there's a few different things, but one of them is to jump, or to like if I'm here, I'll move to like a different area. Why? Because even though you don't know why, your mazal, you're like your neshama, your spirit, the angels that protect you, they see something that you don't see. So maybe something is supposed to happen to you right here, move to a different location, and you'll kind of get rid of it. And there it says, for example, the Gemara says if it's at night, and turn the light on, because the demons or the mazikim that hurt you, if there's light, they run away, or start talking to someone, so they you're with someone, so they're not going to mess with you because you're not alone. Different, the Gemara ends up by saying, it's in Aramaic, but the Gemara says, basically just speak it out loud and say that the cow in the butcher has more meat than what I have, so go to him. Basically, find someone else to attack, leave me alone. But sometimes a person feels something or has a feeling, he doesn't know what it's from, he doesn't know what it is, what does it come from. So in a way, it's his neshama, it's his mazal that sees it. So he's happy. So you want to bring happiness to yourself. Sometimes you're like in a down. You don't know why, but you're not in a good mood for no reason. So you need to try to figure out a way how to get out of it. Now he says sometimes you could try to do a lot of things to put yourself in a better mood, and it won't work. But at least you did your part. That you tried to be in a better mood. And he said hopefully usually when the things that have to do that are not in your control. So he says, the harder you work, the harder you work, the greater the reward is. And and someone who tries, Hashem will usually, help you. And then he brings out here two more points where a person should be happy just because, first of all, he's alive. Some people, will pay a lot of money and do a lot of things to save their life. Last week, a little personal. Last week on Thursday night it was. Yeah, last week Thursday night. So I'll use the opportunity to thank Hashem. Last week Thursday night, my nephew went swimming with his brother. He's 16 and a half. His brother is 13. And in Israel, they went swimming. And they were competing with each other who could stay underwater the longest. Okay? So the 13-year-old went under for like a minute, maybe a minute, a little bit more. He came out. And his brother, the older one, his name was Levi Yitzchak, he jumped in and he was inside for 2 minutes. He's a very stubborn kid. Then he came out for 1 second, got some fresh air, and he went back down. And then a minute passed and he's not coming out, and his brother looks inside and he sees that he's just laying there, he's not swimming. So he jumped in the water. He was a 13-year-old. He had a hard time carrying him out, but he drowned. He drowned. Hey, so his younger brother called my sister and told her, within 5 minutes my sister was there. He was like throwing up blood. He wasn't in a good condition at all. They took him and the ambulance came within a few minutes and they took him to the hospital. And that was Thursday night. Friday, before Shabbos came in, we still didn't know what's with him. He was in a critical condition. Shabbat was the same thing. Sunday, they kind of got his body, like his blood pressure or whatever it is, under control. But he said his lungs weren't working. He's not, a lot of his organs are not functioning. They don't know what's with him. They tested his brain. They said in his brain, it seems like his brain, everything is okay. They're not sure, and they're just waiting. And my sister is telling me every day it does every day. It's like a long day. It's a long day, and everybody's praying for them. And people, turned over almost anybody. I guess it went around a lot, but a lot of people were praying for them. And I think Sunday or Sunday morning, they realized that he's a little bit stable. So and the whole time he's asleep. He's asleep and he has like oxygen. And they woke him up. They wanted to see, if he's still there. They woke him up, and Sunday morning he wakes up and he's yelling out to his brother to save him, because in his head he's drowning. He's still there. And he's a strong 16, 17, he's a big kid, he's a strong kid, and he's trying to pull out of, everything that he's connected to, and they have a few doctors need to hold him down and tie him down, and they tried to put him to sleep, and he's not. They give him some more, whatever they put in the blood to put him to sleep, and he's not stopping. He's fighting it. A stubborn kid. It took him like 2-3 hours, and they got him. They put him to sleep, and my sister is telling me, like, that's it. That's what's with this kid now. He's stuck in there. He's stuck there, and I don't know what's with him. And then 3 or 4 hours later, they tried to wake him up again. He wakes up. What am I doing here? What happened? Normal, as if nothing happened.
Yeah, both percent.
He left. He's out of the hospital this morning.
Yeah.
It was like, and she was saying, like, in a few hours, the whole like, it's like a whole different story. Within like, Hashem could like fix the problem and nothing happened. It's like, so the fact that now he doesn't realize what everybody else is going through when he's sleeping. He wakes up and he's like, and he was, they asked him to say a joke or something. I don't know. He said, I guess I won I won the contest because I was underwater for longer. Or something. He had like a joke or something. And he's like, I said something else. He said, I also slept for 3 days straight. Something like that. Like, he doesn't realize what everybody's going through. All the prayers and this while he's sleeping, but just the fact that the person is alive. So if you don't know, if you see him today, he's just a 17-year-old walking on the streets. But when you see like a person is alive, that itself, just for that, the person should be happy. And the last thing he speaks here about why you need to be just excited of being here, especially if you're Jewish, is that Hashem chose you and He gave you this life. Hashem brought you into this life. He gave you this life, and He wants to give you a reward. Why we say in the Tefillah, we always say, Rabbi Hanania ben Akashya Omer, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות. Right before Kaddish, after every shiur, you'll hear the rabbi says it. Hashem chafetz leman tzidko yagdil Torah v'yadim. The reason why Hashem gave us so many mitzvot is because He wants to give us a lot of reward. So the more we have to do, the more opportunities of mitzvot that come around. So just the fact that Hashem chose us and He wants to give us more opportunities of doing mitzvot, and the reason that He wants to give us a reward, that itself should make you happy and excited, because He's not taking out of His time. There's no concept of time, but Hashem chose us to do that. Anyway, so that's how He talks about the idea of whatever we do, we should do it with happiness. We should be happy doing what we're doing. I remember there's always a famous story that I always say. There was a teacher came to Rav Steinman, that big rabbi in Israel, passed away a few years ago. Very simple, great giant, but very like a simple, modest person. And he told them that the Torah is supposed to be sweet. You're supposed to enjoy learning Torah, and he teaches in class, and there's some boys that don't enjoy it. So what should he do? So Rav Steinman told him, I don't understand. The Torah is supposed to be sweet. I said, it must be that they're enjoying it. He said, no, I'm telling you, they don't enjoy it. So he told him, let's say you take a spoon of honey, and you put the honey in your mouth. It's sweet? He says, yeah, it's sweet. Honey is sweet. He said, what if you taste it and it's not sweet? So it's probably not honey. Right? So if whatever you're doing, they're not enjoying it, so it's not Torah. Because if it's Torah, it's sweet. If it's not sweet, it's not Torah. The mitzvot in the Torah that we do, it's supposed to be something that we enjoy, and it makes us happy. If it doesn't, we're probably not doing it right. It's hard to. It's easier said than done. But definitely that's the idea. If you're not enjoying it, you're probably have to kind of say, okay, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not enjoying it? I think until after Pesach, I told my sister, and my sister lives in London, and she always have a lot of company. She has like an open house, and after Pesach, she was burnt out, and she was like, this doesn't make sense. It can't be that that's what Hashem wants us to do if this is how I feel after that. So, what am I not doing right? So, that's the idea. Anyway, that's the topic of Simcha. Okay, we'll go back to the 13th principle of mitzvot. We are, I think, in number. I think we started 8 last time. Mm-hmm. So to go through the whole thing for those who missed it, it will be very difficult because it will take the whole class. But just in summary, so we explained last week that it's divided. The 13 is divided into 5, the 5 first ones, and then 4 and 4, 5, 4, and 4. The first 5 talks about just the existence of Hashem. That Hashem created the world. He was everything that is created. Everything that is existing. He brought into existence, and there's nothing here that Hashem did not create. And even if we take everything that we see, Hashem will always be here because He was always here. That was the first one. The second one is that He's one. Meaning there's only one God, and we don't have 2 authorities. There's one authority, and everything is part of Hashem. The third one, we said that He's not physical, that He's not physical, and there's no shape or form to God, because if there is, that means it's limited, and if there's limited, that means someone limited Him. It's the whole philosophy explanation that it must be that there is an existing that was always there and is not limited, because if it's limited, someone limited it, and if He wasn't always there, so someone brought Him into existence. So He was always there. He's not physical. The fourth one is that He was always there and always will be here. And the fifth one is that no one else has any power but the Creator of the world. So that's the first set of 5 principles that about the existence of Hashem. He created the world. He's one. He's not physical. He was always here, and no one else has power but Him. Meaning, there's no one in this world has any ability to do anything, to save you, to do miracles. No one has any power, but everything comes from Hashem. That's the first 5. Then the other 4 talks about, really leads to receiving the Torah. So it starts from the idea, in order for Hashem to connect with human beings, to give us the Torah, we have to have some form of connection. That form would be, you need to have a person, a living being, that has a way to connect to Hashem. But Hashem is spiritual, and we're physical. Doesn't really connect. So the only way to connect from it is to have a person that in a way disconnects himself from his physical being, and then he could connect to the spiritual. And that is prophecy. A Navi, and that's the 6th one, that there is an existence, an idea, that we had prophets, and those prophets were able to connect to Hashem and give us messages from Hashem. That was His way to connect to us through prophets. And that's one of the things that we need to believe, that it is possible for a human being like us to connect to Hashem, even though that is more in a spiritual and we're more physical. And the way to do it is to become a prophet. So today we don't have prophets, unfortunately. But the Gemara says that the prophets, even though there's no prophets, but Hashem sends us messages through people that are crazy, retarded people, like crazy people. and kids. Okay? Because a kid, he doesn't really have his own thinking, and he's very pure. So you'll see a lot of times in the Gemara and different, like, you'll ask a kid, what do you think? Tell me a pasuk you learned in school, and that would be the message. You see it in the Navi, you see it with Mordechai and the Megillat Esther. You see it also, even the Goyim would use it. When Titus came to destroy the temple, on the way he wanted to see, he wanted to know if Hashem wants him to do it, and he asked kids, tell me psukim, and the kid there told him that a verse from one of the prophets, that whoever's going to destroy the temple, Hashem will get his revenge back. So he turned away, he didn't do it, and then there's a whole story there. But they always used kids, and I would say the people that are not sane, it comes from them, same idea. They're not really, their brain is not really connected to their physical. Maybe that's how it gets. I don't know how it works, but that's what the Gemara says, that it comes through them. So that was the sixth one, and it led us to the seventh one, that Moshe Rabbeinu, he is the prophet number one. He was like the head of all prophets, which he was the greatest of humankind at all in general, but especially with prophecy. And we listed the differences between Moshe Rabbeinu's prophecy and all the other prophets, just in a very short way to say it. Every prophet, he wouldn't speak to Hashem directly. It would go through something. He would dream. He would see an image. It wasn't direct. It wasn't me talking to you. Which with Moshe, it was a direct contact. And the second one was that Moshe got his messages very straight out. Hashem spelled it out for him what he wants to say. He didn't tell him a story or gave him a hint of what the message is. It was a direct message, like I'm speaking to you. He spoke to him. The third one was all prophets, whenever they would receive their prophecy, because they have to be more on the spiritual level, they would kind of disconnect from their physical. So they would be either sleeping, or they would kind of collapse and lie down on the floor, and their body was not functioning when they got that prophecy, because they have to disconnect from their physical body in order to receive that prophecy. Moshe was so great, and he was so uplifted spiritually, that he had 100% control on his physical body, that was also turned into a form of spiritual. So when he would get his prophecy, he would stay intact, the same way I talk to you. He would do the same thing with Hashem, that it wouldn't affect his physical body as well. And the fourth one, that in terms of timing, when you get the prophecy, all prophets, whenever they wanted to be, they didn't. Hashem decided when to send them a message. They would have to get ready for it, and they would be able to receive it. And Moshe, whenever he wanted something, he would just go to Moed, speak to Hashem out there, straight out there, and get his prophecy. So those are the four differences, and it's important to know these differences, because through prophecy, Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah. So we need to kind of understand, how is it that Moshe received the Torah? So you need to first understand that there is a concept of prophecy, and Moshe was like the master of prophets, and he was able to receive the message from Hashem, and he's still, and it's clear, there's no mistakes, and he was able to do that. And that leads us to the eighth one, and that would be receiving the Torah. So we received the Torah on Har Sinai. So everything that we have in the Sefer Torah, every word that's written there, Moshe did not make it up. Everything that is written, Hashem told him to write it, and he wrote it. Why doesn't the Torah start with וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, בראשית ברא אלוקים. If Moshe wrote it, so you should start the beginning of the Torah. If you would say that Moshe is deciding how to write it, so he needs to write, Hashem told me that he created the world in the beginning. So it's the pasuk, the Torah has to start with, וידבר השם אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל. Not דבר אל בני ישראל. בראשית ברא אלוקים את השמיים ואת הארץ. It's supposed to start that Hashem told Moshe that at first he created the world. But it doesn't start with that. It starts with Bereshit bara Elokim, because Hashem told Moshe what to write. Moshe did not decide anything. He was just the sofer that wrote it. Hashem told him what to write. So I'm going to just read how the Rambam explains the way that Moshe received the Torah from Hashem. Heyot Torah min hashamayim. So the eighth one is that the Torah came from the heavens. Vehu shena'amin ki kol haTorah azot, the whole Torah, הנתונה על ידי משה רבנו עליו השלום, that we received from Moshe Rabbeinu, היא כולה מפי הגבורה. Every word that we got from the Torah, it's all from Hashem. Every single word. שהגיע אליו כולה מאת השם יתברך. There's not a single letter, word, nothing changed. However we have it, that's exactly how Hashem told Moshe to write it down. בעניין שנקרא על דרך השאלה, דיבור. ואין ידוע איך הגיע. Now we don't know how Moshe exactly received it. We just know that Moshe had a way of communicating, and he was a prophet. He knew how to communicate with Hashem, and he knew how Hashem told him to write it out. We can't really understand it because we don't know. We can't imagine how exactly am getting messages and connecting to Hashem. It doesn't. For us, it's not something that we do. Especially telling me to write a word. How exactly? What's the font? What does it look like? So everything was the way Hashem told him to do it. אלוהו משה עליו השלום שהגיע לו, והוא היה כמו סופר שקוראים לו. He was like an artist that they read it out for him, and he writes it out. Because when did we get the Torah? We got the full Torah right before we went into Israel. Once after Moshe died and Yeshua brought us in. The Matan Torah, we became a nation a year and a half into the desert, right when Moshe went up and we received the Ten Commandments. Throughout the whole 40 years in the desert, we didn't have the whole Torah, because part of the Torah is the journey of the journey that we went through. So you read in the Torah things that happen after we received the Torah. So Moshe wrote it in the end of the 40 years. Before he went in, before Moshe, the I think 30 days, I don't remember exactly when, but right before Moshe died, he wrote 13 Sifrei Torah, and he gave to every tribe one. So every tribe had his own Sefer Torah from Moshe, and the number 13 one they kept in the Beit HaMikdash and the Mishkan with the luchot. Luchot in English again? The tablets. Yeah. So the Sefer Torah and the tablets were in the Aron in the Beit HaMikdash, and that's what Moshe wrote. He wrote it in the end of the 40 years. Hashem told him every word how to write. So he didn't come down from the mountain with the whole physical Torah that we see. He came down with the luchot, and he taught us everything else. Now, in all the stories, same thing. All the stories, and sometimes you'll read things in the Torah that for some reason you don't understand why it says it. It will say there the names of the children of Ham. What does it matter what their names are? There's a pasuk, the name of the wife of the Shemitome Tavhel, the wife of one of the people there, one of the children of Ham. Why do I need to know what their names are? And there's a lot of different things in the Torah that you could think like, why does it say it? But really, Hashem said to write every word. So the same way that Hashem said to write to keep Shabbat and Anochi Hashem Elokecha and Lo Tignov and Bereshit, He also wrote these psukim that we don't understand. That's because we don't understand it. But every word counts, and even if someone says, "Now this pasuk Moshe wrote it," Hashem didn't tell him to write it, or this pasuk doesn't need to be there. You're violating this belief that every single part of the Torah came from Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's not only the written Torah; it's also the oral Torah, also all the explanations. For example, you have a shofar. What's a shofar? We have to blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. What is it from? What does it look like? How do we blow it? What are the sounds? We don't know. It doesn't say it in the Torah. Moshe explained it to us. Moshe did not make up anything. Everything that Moshe told us, he received it from Hashem. What is tefillin? What does tefillin look like? It doesn't say in the Torah how we put together what tefillin looks like. Lulav, tzitzit. It doesn't. It says in the Torah to have a blue string. On what? What does it look like? How we tie it? What we do? All the little details. Even Shabbat, right? Shabbat. There's only two things in the Torah that says that you're not supposed to do. All the 39 melachot with all of the extensions. That Moshe Rabbeinu told us, but it wasn't his. He didn't make up anything. Everything he taught us, he received. That means even if you don't believe on something the rabbis told us in the name of Moshe Rabbeinu, that's also going against the Torah. Even if it's not written in the actual Torah. Because all the explanations came from Moshe Rabbeinu. And he received it from Hashem. He didn't make up anything. He didn't make up anything on his own. And that's what he says. Bezot tedun ki Hashem shelachani la'asod et kol ha'ma'asim ha'ele ki lo milibi. It's not. I'm not making up anything. Everything I'm teaching you, it's all from Hashem. Meaning he didn't make up. There's nothing that Moshe came up with. I have a good idea. Let's start. Let's have on Sukkot to have a etrog. Why? Because it says the fruit. So Moshe decided that that's the right fruit. No, Hashem told him that's the fruit that you're going to have with your lulav and arba minim. How many aravot? How many adasim? 1 lulav, 3 aravot, 3 adasim, 2 aravot, and 1 etrog. Why? How do you know that? That is all from Moshe Rabbeinu. No one made it up. The rabbis did not. Some people think like the rabbis made up something. No one makes up anything. You're not allowed to make up anything. We'll see the next one is that you can't change anything. Everything that was all the laws that were existed that we received from Moshe Rabbeinu 3,000 and some years ago, every single law and every single pasuk and every single thing in the Torah still applies these days. You can't change it, and it's not changeable. That would be the next one. The next one, the ninth principle is that you can't change anything, you can't add anything, because everything we got is from Moshe Rabbeinu, and he got it from Hashem. Now, we spoke about it before. The Torah was written before the world was created. That's a little bit more, not exactly our topic, but just to kind of understand why it's still relevant to this day. Because the Torah, Hashem looked in the Torah, and according to that blueprint, He created the world. So everything that's in this world comes from the Torah. So the Torah, as long as everything that we have here, doesn't matter how old it is, it's all from the Torah. So nothing really, you can't really change. Nothing could change in the Torah because we were created from. That's the blueprint, right? You have, for example, I don't know. Let's say someone would say, I don't like it that there's the sun. The day is 12 hours and the night is 12 hours. Let's switch it up. I don't know. I heard years ago. I don't know if it's true or not. I heard years ago that China tried to change to have a weekday of 10 days. Instead of 777, it would be 10. You get more days of work. Practically, it would work, right? Instead of taking a break every 7 days, take a break every 10 days. You have, within a year, you get more work done. So they tried to do it. I remember as a years ago, I heard it. I don't know where. I never saw the sources for it, but and they realized that by the 6th day, people are like they need that day off. That you can't. That's how the world, because the world and if you notice, the whole world is all 777, right? Obviously, it started from somewhere, because the world was created through the Torah. The Torah is 6 days of work, 1 day of Shabbat. That's how the world works. That's how our DNA comes from the Torah. So you can't really change it up. Same thing with all the mitzvot. All the mitzvot are still applied. They still apply, even though we, in a way, we think we're so much more advanced, but we're not changing. The sun still works the same way. The moon still works the same way, and you plant something in the ground, it grows the same way. It didn't change because it started 6,000 years ago. So let's upgrade and change it. It's so the same way that the physics of the world stayed the same. The spiritual part of the world is also the same. So the mitzvot, even though they look like it's old, but they don't change because the world is created from the Torah. So everything in the Torah is still relevant. It will always be relevant in this world because it's created from. This is the DNA of the Torah. So that's why you can't add and change. Let's say, for example, I'm not good in the kitchen is not my expertise. What that I'm good in the kitchen is, I tell my wife, I'm like the cleaner, the one who puts her the second hand that does all the dirty. I do all the dirty work. But if you'll ask me, for example, to make a cake, it's not going to work. But if you'll tell me exactly what to do, you tell me if you give me like a few steps, if it's more than 2 or 3 steps, I start losing it. But if it's exactly if you give me specific instructions on what to do, I can do it. Now, what if I'll decide that I'm smarter than the cookbook, or I'm smarter than my wife telling me what to do, and I'm going to add an ingredient, or I'll say, this is not. I'll instead of 3 cups of flour, I'll put 2 cups. It's not going to work, right? Because there's a recipe. In order to create something, there's a specific set of things what you need to do, and that's how it comes out good. It's the same thing with the Torah. The Torah is the recipe of how to live, how to have the best life here. If you'll start changing, this doesn't make sense to me. Let's change this. Let's make a week 10 days instead of 7 days. It will mess it up. So if you're changing things, you're messing up your life. You're messing up the way the world works because it was created. That's the recipe book. That's the manual of how to operate in this world. So, and how do we know that? Moshe Rabbeinu gave it to us, and Hashem taught it, and all the details came from Hashem as well. So by you adding, even if you're adding, you're like, you know what? Let's do Shabbat 2 days. Why not? Shabbat is wonderful, so let's do Shabbat 2 days, right? You'll do Shabbat, and Sunday we'll have double. It won't work because now you're going to ruin it. There's a way to do things, and the way it was created was the best way for the world to run. That's why we not only that we can't, sometimes people will think to add, you're helping, but really you're messing up the recipe by adding another cup, because now it's not going to come out good and it won't taste good, and you messed up the whole recipe. There's when to do it, how to do it. So you can add and you can change. But and it's not only from the Torah shebichtav, also the Torah shebe'al peh. Not only the written Torah, also the oral Torah. The rabbis can come up and decide, let's add another something. Let's add another mitzvah. Even the mitzvah, for example, Purim. Purim, Chanukah, there's 7 mitzvot that are rabbinical mitzvot. Netilat Yadayim, for example, it's not written in the Torah. Chanukah, it's not from the Torah. Purim, it's not in the Torah. Saying Hallel, it's also not in the Torah. It's not a mitzvah from the Torah. What else? What else there is? There's 7 of them. Lighting candles, right, on Shabbat. It's also not a mitzvah from the Torah. So a lot of these things, they're not. You can't say you need to do this. This is one of the mitzvot of the Torah, because it's not. We can't add anything. Now, a lot of times the rabbis would add things, and you'll see throughout generations, they're not adding a mitzvah. They're they're guarding it with different rules and protections in order to not violate that mitzvah, or in order to make it easier for you to do the mitzvah. So, for example, if you have a pool, you don't want to fall into the pool, you put a gate around the pool. Now, you don't need a gate in order to not fall into the pool. You could technically walk very carefully and not fall in, but if you're smart, you put a gate, and you put like kind of another barrier for you to not get hurt. So a lot of mitzvot, for example, one of the ones that most people don't know, you're not allowed to ride a horse on Shabbat. Why? So people think because it's muktzeh, you can't ride a horse. But the whole reason is because you might need you want to like hit the horse to run, and you won't have a stick, and you'll be walking, riding near a tree, and you'll take a branch, you'll break a branch and hit the horse. In a way, you think it's so far away, and it's like it doesn't for sure in our society. If I'm not riding horses, and even if I am, I'm not taking branches off trees. That's not what I'm doing. But that's this halacha. It's not. It's we're protecting you to not do that. So it's not. We're not saying that you're violating. You're not allowed. The Torah says to not ride a horse on Shabbat. The rabbis say, listen, when we were telling you do not ride a horse on Shabbat because we don't want you to get to the problem of breaking the branch off. So these are different type of things that we do, that the rabbis add just to kind of protect us from not violating, but we're not adding or taking off anything.
When we were first learning about Shabbat and Muktzeh and things like that before we moved to the community, I think Isaac was looking at a coloring book, like just looking at it, like flipping through the pages, and he saw a page that he wanted to do, so he tore it out, like instinctively, just absentmindedly tore it out so he could do it later. And I was like, you can't tear a Shabbat. So like even just like looking at a coloring book, even though you're not doing coloring, you don't have colors, you might absentmindedly do something and feel no halacha.
Right, I think the halacha brings down that you're not allowed to read, if you have like a letters or like things that you have notes on, you're not allowed to read it on Shabbat because you might want to take down notes, or you want to fix something. You get something from a lawyer and you want to wipe something out. Right, those type of things you're not allowed to write. But that's the same idea. We're trying to protect you to not fall into the pool, so we put a gate. It's not that we don't trust you. Just we want to be smarter than what it is. So that's the 9th one. So the 9th one goes into that would be the 4th of the part of receiving the Torah. So the prophets is the way to connect to Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu is the master of prophecy. Through him, Hashem gave us the Torah. He gave us all of the oral Torah and all the written Torah. Every part to the last detail came from Hashem through Moshe. And the last part of that is that you're not allowed to add or change anything, because it's It's not like Hashem gave us a Torah and He's like, you know what? I give you these are the recommendations, and if something doesn't fit, you could change it. And if you're not interested in something, the whole world is based on the Torah. So by you changing it or not, if you don't understand something, you have to work on your understanding. If something doesn't make sense to you, you have to figure out what's wrong with you that you don't understand it. If something doesn't feel right to you, it's something that we need to kind of figure out why we feel that way or why we don't see it that way. Now, sometimes things won't make sense, but that's because we're so far away sometimes, and we're so disconnected that it doesn't make sense. And it will happen in life if you meet someone that doesn't know what Shabbat is. The hardest one is to carry, right? You're in the hospital and you want to walk outside on Shabbat, or you're staying in some Airbnb and you want to walk out, and there's no eruv. You can't carry. Now, growing up in Israel, for example, most of the non-religious Jews, they don't even know that there's an idea of not carrying on Shabbat, because in Israel there's an eruv everywhere. So almost every city, you never have a problem of not carrying. So if you didn't grow up learning that there is such a thing of not carrying on Shabbat, you don't know it exists. They come to America, they don't even know that there's an idea living within the eruv or outside of the eruv. Now explain to him that he can't walk around and carry a tissue in his pocket because you're violating Shabbat. He's like, what do you want? I'm not working. I'm not doing anything. Right? You're pushing a stroller. There's some things that in a way it's hard to us to understand. It's hard for us to understand why you need it, but that's because we don't understand how these things work. It's, for example, me. I don't understand when you make challah, so they have the yeast. I don't understand how it works, but I know that if you don't do that, it won't rise, right? Or there's I think baking soda that they always put in cakes to make. For me, if I would do the recipe, I wouldn't put that in because I have no idea what that thing is. But that's because I'm lacking a knowledge of understanding how these things work. Same thing with the Torah. Not everything, in Shabbat especially, not everything is about working hard. Because you're allowed to work hard on Shabbat. If I need to set up a table, and I need to serve food, and I need to, I want to clean up, and I need to carry someone, and it's not about doing something that's hard, physical work or hard work. It's a type of work that the Torah says this type of work you don't do, and this you do. I could carry something heavy outside when there is an eruv, but I can't even go out with a toothpick outside when there's no eruv. It's not about working hard. There's certain things that the Torah tells us to do that you're allowed to do, and the other things you're not allowed to do. We don't understand the mechanics of it because it's more in a spiritual way. Why does Hashem care, or why does it matter a certain melachot? Some melachot we don't really understand, but because it's more you're fixing it's a whole explanation of what a mitzvah is. But a mitzvah is basically a spiritual, I would call it power, that when you do the mitzvah here, you give power or light or whatever you want to call to your spiritual being. Right? A person is made out of 613. Evarim and Gidim. We have 245 organs and 365 limbs, right? Ramach and Shasa. 248 and 265. And 365. Together it's 613. We're made out of 613, let's call it pieces. And the Torah is also 613 mitzvot. Every part of us, when I do a mitzvah, fixes my physical being and also my neshama, that it's also made out of 613, but it's more on the spiritual side. So there's some things that we don't understand. That's because we don't have the knowledge to understand it, or we didn't study it. But it's not like if it doesn't make sense, okay, let's take it out of the Torah. Everything that Moshe Rabbeinu taught us, that's true. If you understand it, great. If you don't understand it, you should study it to understand it. If you want to understand it, you could do it blindly without understanding it, but then you'll end up not really getting it, and you'll be like, you'll get burnt out, because it's hard to do something that you don't understand for so long. That's why we study. We try to understand what we're doing in order it's much easier for us to understand it, to do it. But by not understanding something, you can't just wipe it out because this doesn't make sense to you, or 2025, and let's say, it's okay to have a gay marriage. That doesn't work because the Torah says it doesn't work. It doesn't matter what year you're in. That's not the way the world works. So you can't. If we're so advanced that we think that Torah is outdated, maybe we're not doing it right, and we kind of have to go back to our roots. But to say that something changed, to take off or to add, that's one of the principles that teaches us that you can't do that. So all 613 and everything else that came with it, all the explanations that came with it, every single one of them is still in existence, and it's from Hashem through Moshe to us. That's the second set of the 13, and the last set, 10, 11, 12, and 13, that talks about more of that Hashem is watching over us. He sees what we're doing. He knows what's going to happen, and the reward that comes with it. To be continued. For us, it's like we're going through it a few weeks already. So some things I say that for me it's common sense, and if you don't understand something, you have to kind of stop me and ask me what I just mean. But because we're studying it already a few times, so some concept and ideas we already went through, and if it's the first time you're hearing it, it's like I don't get what he's talking about, but we'll get it one day.